Take it away.
Awesome. Okay, well, so our first trivia question, maybe a softball, but outside of the School of Data Science, what was the most recently founded school at the University of Virginia?
Do we just go for it, or?
Yeah, just go for it.
Batten School.
It was Batten.
Good one.
Which I had to look up.
If you had said most recent, I would have also said Batten though. So that might have been a tricky question too. I forgot about the data science school.
Yeah, I was like, that may be tricky. But okay, my second question is, UVA had a woman play on UVA sports teams about 20 years before we started admitting women. I don't know how that happened, but her name was Mary Slaughter, and named Slaughter Gem. And does anybody know what sport she played for the University of Virginia? This one's harder. It's okay if you don't know.
I read this article. I can tell it. It's tennis.
It's tennis. Did you just say the answer?
Right?
Oh, wait, you said tennis. I think it's tennis. Yeah. What? It was tennis. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I have a lot of free
all-star.
time on my hand these
Coming in
days.
strong.
Yeah. He's coming in hot. All right, so you get all the prizes.
Do you read every email you get?
I don't get very many emails.
UVA Today. I know. I've been reading UVA Today every morning. You know, you get the emails. That's all boring. Okay, so you have 4 pencils. There's a toucan. I think is what that is. A cupcake. A panda. And a rainbow for Pride Month.
I'm gonna go with the toucan.
No,
please.
you get them all. That's how you don't even have to choose. You get all these prizes, all of them. So you just have to text me, chat me your snail mail address, and I'll send them to you. I'll even sharpen
Okay.
them for you. Congratulations.
I'll be in Charlottesville in the nearest future too, so that could work as well.
Okay, you could do a pickup. I'll put them on the bench. It's a reunion. It's like a reunion.
Oh. Well, I was telling people earlier, at least for me personally, just graduated but have had my career plans like shift a lot in the past week. So I'm like in the need of like just hearing of like different people's what their paths have been in the past year personally. So I know I'm really looking forward to it. But since we're recorded, we'll go ahead and get started. If people just want to introduce themselves, we can start with, I'm going to start with who's on my screen. So if Karsten, if you want to go first and just say like who you are, what you've been up to for the past year since graduating from UVA.
Sweet. Well, hello everybody. I'm Karsten. I graduated last year and packed up my bags and moved all the way out to Memphis, Tennessee. I was hired by Teach for America and work in this small charter school called the Soulsville Charter School. I teach 11th and 12th grade math, so AP Calculus and all the algebra. It's a lot of fun, but yeah, that's what I've been up to.
That's awesome. I wasn't very good at math in high school, so I'm very impressed by that. Matt, do you want to go next?
I'm muted. Here I am now. Sorry. Matt Salit. I am still in Charlottesville. I'm at UVA Law with Rambert. I studied political and social thought and was a Horizon Fellow as an undergrad. Love still being in Charlottesville.
Also, I know Caroline's not one of our graduated guests, but since Caroline's on the call, Caroline is going to be a 4th year at UVA. I'm going to introduce you. And she's a very dear friend. And she's going to be a Horizon Fellow next year. And it's great. So, hey, Caroline.
Thanks for talking for me. I don't want to say anything.
And then Mackenzie, you're next on my screen. So.
Yeah, what did I do? At UVA, I was pre-med and religious studies and public health major, and then didn't go to med school and decided to do some healthcare consulting. So I live in Boston, which is where I currently am in my apartment without air conditioning, so I'm a little shiny, but I think that's it. Did I miss it? Oh, I was a Horizon Fellow with Matt and Rambert also.
Awesome. And then I have Sade next.
Yes, hello everyone. My name is Sade. I study anthropology and I graduated last spring, and I spent this past year volunteering as an AmeriCorps member working at a charter school in Newark, New Jersey. And I primarily worked as a math tutor. So I tutored um, within four mathematical subjects: Algebra 1, 8th grade math, 7th grade math, and then worked with our exceptional learners, and then also supported the school director with administrative tasks.
Awesome. Cool. And then Rambert, if he is, oh, there.
Hi, can you all hear me? Yes, hi everyone. My name is Rambert. As was mentioned, I'm currently at the law school. Glad to still be in Charlottesville. In undergrad, in my fourth year, I was Horizons Fellow with Matt and Mackenzie. Still enjoying being in Charlottesville. It's a lot different being in North Grounds as opposed to being on the main campus, but still great to be in the city and great to be here tonight.
That's awesome. Thanks, guys. Well, thanks for just hopping on our recorded call tonight. So the first question, also my friend who and I are both now back on the job hunt, wrote these questions together, which may be really simple, but we're actually super confused about how people do things. So the first question we just wanted to ask was how did you end up doing what you're doing? So whether that was Teacher America or AmeriCorps, or working consulting or grad school, what was that process like? And is what you're doing is directly related to what you studied at UVA? Yeah, just was this a path that you kind of, as the first year you came in, did you think you'd be doing what you're doing now? And if so, or if not, how did you end up there? So we may just go in the same order, if that's okay. Or you can just popcorn,
Yeah, I can start us off real quick. I studied youth and social innovation, one of the small majors in the Curry School. And we had, so my first exposure of Teach for America was a TFA rep coming into one of our classes and talking about what it is and what they do. And then they connected me with some people coming to an upcoming career fair. So I got in via this early application that happened during my third year, and then it all just kind of happened seamlessly without me really, I guess, trying to force anything. So it was all a pretty smooth process, thankfully, which was not the experience, or which is not relative of my college experience, because I was formerly studying biomedical engineering, and that took a rocky turn for the worse, and I had to change majors, and it was this whole complicated thing. But I'm doing what I'm doing now, and I'm thankful. So.
Matt, you want to
Yeah, I'll go. So as I mentioned, I studied political and social thought, which I loved. My coursework, it wasn't a major that prepared me for any specific path, but law school is a relatively common one from the major. So I applied during the summer and fall of my fourth year, and wasn't sure. Although I was applying, I had considered taking or deferring for some period of time if another job or opportunity came up, and it just worked out. I was really happy to get into UVA and really happy that I could afford to go right away. So I graduated in May, and then took the summer off, and then started up school in August. And then this summer I'm doing a remote internship for a federal judge in Boston. And that's been a really great experience. And I'm excited to go back to school in person in the fall.
Matt was supposed to be in Boston this summer, which is why I made a sad face.
That's another thing, just as a random question I have that is are people working remotely right now, and what is that like, and how does that affect your perception of your job and what you're doing? Because I personally I was supposed to join the Peace Corps, and that is just like put completely on pause and like can't, not only can't happen in person, but can't happen remotely. So, how has remote working changed what you're doing? If it has, if it hasn't.
Caroline, quick question for you. Has the Peace Corps, did they tell you if things will start back up? Like, how is that? Is there a process, or are you just like waiting? Or
my assignment just got delayed for a year,
Okay.
so to September 2021. As kind of like holding a pin and like hopefully that date, but I have a hunch that they really won't start sending people back until we have a vaccine for COVID-19, which is not known when we'll have that. So we'll see. But I'm committed still. So hopefully still going in September of next year. But
yeah.
Mackenzie, you want to hit us with your, like, how'd you get where you are?
Yeah. That's a great question. And sometimes I like reflect on it and I'm like, I don't even remember like making an active decision, but I definitely did. So I like really genuinely thought I was gonna apply to med school after 4th year and like take a gap year. And I think I was uncertain for like a longer time than I admitted. And took the MCAT and like was like, okay, if it goes well, maybe I'll like want to go. I still didn't want to go. But I had never like had a real job. Like I took physics one summer, studied for the MCAT, like didn't really do the like internship thing. So I had no idea what I was going to do and like certainly didn't have tons of experience to like go on. So I think it's like kind of a joke that if you don't know what you want to do, you go do consulting. And I still liked healthcare and like wanted to be in that kind of area and felt like that was the thing I was best equipped to do. And so like kind of applied to a bunch of random things and didn't know tons about DS, which is where I work now. And ended up getting an interview and I was like, okay, I'm only going to take it if I get put in New York. And then I didn't get put in New York. And I was so nervous. Matt can tell you, I was so nervous about Boston because I knew like 2 people moving here. And somehow, like, I think that's what I don't remember. Like, somehow I made the leap and decided to go. And it's been like the greatest thing. And I think to answer your work from home question, it hasn't changed my actual job, but it's changed the way I feel about my job. I think I told Karen this when I was in Charlottesville for like since I started. I wasn't sure if I loved my job because of the people or because of the work. And with the people taken away and like going to the office and having social hour all the time and like mess around way more than I should be in the office, like I think it's clear it's not what I want to do long term, but it's been like the greatest experience I ever could have asked for and like never would have imagined, probably even 4th year, that this is where I would be and like would be this happy. So
that's awesome. That's also like really encouraging to hear. The kind of like I wasn't totally sure where I was going to end up, but It sounds like you're also learning a lot, which is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Sade, what was your path? Tell us about your year and AmeriCorps, which is amazing. And also really, really hard. I've heard from multiple people. Just a really incredible commitment. So
I could definitely say that, working with young kids and just working in school in general, it's no easy task, but I really, really enjoyed it. And, to touch a little bit on your working from home question, our school closed in the middle of March. So from then on, we worked remotely, but I felt as if I had more effective tutorials and, was really able to connect with my students on a level that wasn't really available in school. So that's one thing I really appreciated. But my time living in the Perkins House really formed how I wanted to live my life postgraduate. And I know that I really wanted to focus on serving in some way, shape, or form and working with kids. So the Perkins House and really shapes where I'm at now.
That's so awesome. And also, just for people who don't know, that's how I met Sade, was through Perkins House, and we're both doing some work for them right now, which is really awesome. Or starting on Friday, so I'm really excited to get to work with you too in the summer.
Likewise.
Awesome. And then Rambert.
Yes, so really similar to Matt. I applied to law school in my 4th year. In the fall, I was in preparation kind of all summer, studying for the tests and whatnot. And then once I applied, I was really happy to get in UVA. It was definitely my top choice. So I made the commitment, but, somewhat dissimilar to Matt's experience. I was in the commerce school, so it was very rare for people to go from commerce to law. And the reason why I kind of made the switch was I never knew exactly what I wanted to do as a career or kind of with my life post grad. So even as I got into the comm school, it was never kind of like, oh, I'm so passionate about finance, or I really love, consulting or business analytics. It was always kind of a taking a leap of faith. So going from commerce to law is a really uncommon trajectory, but I think it's been really valuable. I've met a lot of people and made a lot of connections through that kind of business background. And now this summer I'll be working with the law firm starting next week. It'll actually be in person, so not work from home. Don't know what to expect about that, but it's I'm grateful to be where I am, and who knows what's next.
Awesome. That's also, it's just nice to hear again, like not always taking the path that necessarily your major tees up for you. That's something that I've been thinking a lot about, because I was in the architecture school here, which people are always like, oh, great, you're an architect now. I'm like, no, I'm not. And it's going to be so long before that is reality for me. But I also am not working for a firm right now. So just like living a job that's different from my like very prescribed major. Encouraging to hear people kind of doing the same. So our next question, and we'll go back to Karsten, is just tell us about like a highlight of the first year kind of out of college and out of undergrad. And then we had these separate questions. I think it makes sense to ask them together. Like on the flip side, like what was something that was maybe a hard thing or a challenge about that first year out since graduating from UVA?
Yeah. So I don't know if I'm cheating a little bit because we have access to all the other questions. But definitely one of the highlights for this year was just rebuilding or starting a new community. I didn't know anyone really going into Memphis. And whenever people would ask about like what I'm doing next when I was still, in school, I'd always share this as a prayer request that, like God would help me find good, strong Christian community while I'm here. And the cool thing about TFA is that they, you're like joining a network of teachers, first year teachers, second year teachers, and alumni teachers who are still in the city. But I actually didn't find most of my friends there. It was actually through church and another organization called the Memphis Teacher Residency, which is a faith-based teacher preparation program. And it was like really crazy. This church that I ended up going to in like the summer, just a couple weeks before I started teaching, the pastor not really the pastor, but the speaker was a former missionary to Senegal. And I had just come back from the Gambia in the prior spring semester. I'd done a 4-month mission trip because I graduated early, and we hit it off and got to talking. And then as soon as I finished my conversation with him, I went to this lunch, and then I met another guy who actually lived in the Gambia, and all three of us are now in the same small group. And it's just like all these like crazy connections that happen in one day. which I'm like, only God, really, only God. And so, I mean, I have great friends at school, great friends with TFA, but my church community and just like the people I've met as a result in the city of Memphis has been probably one of the highlights and probably one of the biggest ways God's surprised me this year. On the flip side, the challenge obviously comes down to school. A lot of long days, early mornings, 5 a.m., waking up, not leaving the school until 5 p.m., you know, just the usual, just the usual grind. And like coming in as an outsider, coming in as an Asian American in particular, as a Korean American in a school where it's 99% Black, there's just like a lot of like cultural differences and discrepancies. And it took a while for the students there to really accept me for who I was. And so, yeah, that's probably been the biggest challenge, but it's getting better each day.
That's awesome. One of my friends, actually one of my roommates who's on another call right now, did MTR, the summer program last summer. So I've actually heard a lot about it. Yeah, but
yeah, awesome. Love it.
You got
Love
plugged
it.
in there.
I don't wish I did it now in hindsight, but here we are.
She's a teacher and she's doing her master's and she's planning to move back to Memphis after her master's to teach there. So
let's go.
Really big heart for Memphis. She was gonna watch this call the recorded version. So now I'm like, Katie, this is like for you. Awesome. Matt, do you wanna tell us your like high and low of first year?
Yeah.
Law school. Hard. So hard.
It was hard. Karsten, you're just really well spoken on a lot of things I think all of us on this call can relate to, particularly the building community aspect. I had the advantage of staying physically in a place, but as Rambert kind of alluded to, North Grounds is a whole different beast than main grounds. So I think a highlight certainly was building a new community in a place that I'm already comfortable with. In particular, it was the first time in my life that I have friends that are 5 or 6 years older than me that I'm really close with. And I'd love to hear what Mackenzie and some of our other alums have to say about working alongside people that are even like of a different generation. But that's been really neat to feel like a peer with other people, even if we were in college in different times. Another highlight was last summer and then into the fall, I worked for Dr. Cameron Webb's political campaign and he won the primary yesterday, which was so exciting. It was a lot of work for a lot of people and he's going to be the change we need in the 5th district. So that was just still riding that high of last night. A challenge that I'm still struggling to articulate but actually CCG mentioned like the working hard aspect. I think a challenge has been you get into a routine of working hard, which is good because then like school is important and finding routines has allowed me to be more efficient with my time and feel like I'm actually learning the material. But then reminding myself that it's important to have time away from routine and working hard. I think in college, it was much easier to have friends that were encouraging me to like slack off and just have fun in the middle of the week or be reminded of all the other things that fill me up that are really important. That I think particularly the second semester when we were in quarantine and I was in my apartment in Charlottesville by myself doing Zoom classes, it was hard at times to remember to like give myself grace and be kind to myself and just like do silly things that don't matter for anything because those are just as important as the studying aspect. I think that being said, like having this summer with a lot more downtime, I've been able to hit the reset button and have some good goals and plans headed into the fall to address some of those things while also continuing to build on that community.
That's awesome. Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. And yeah, just like balancing things, like being a human with work just seems like a monumental task at times. That I'm really in awe of people who just are trying to do that. Mackenzie, you wanna tell us about high and low of life in Boston for the past?
So many highs, like Karsten said, like, so, like, it's all from God, and like I'm so grateful every single day to have like had such a smooth transition to a place that was like essentially 100% foreign to me. So I think high has been community. I think in a way that I felt with Horizons Fellows, like, oh my God, I'm gonna cry. Like, our group was just the greatest thing of my 4th year, and it, like, Pat's laughing because I, like, did this at our last meeting, but, like, it made me realize, like, what friends can be and, like, what people can be and, like, what, like, real, genuine, like, community is, and I think was nervous to, like, not have that in Boston, and I like did almost immediately, and like found really amazing people, which I think took me a little while at UVA, and I like didn't know it was possible to have it in such quantity in Boston, I guess, and such depth. So that's like definitely been the greatest part for me, and like the city, I never expected to like it so much, which is an added bonus. I think the hardest part was like work itself, because it felt so foreign to me, and like really, like everyone at UVA, like I'm not comfortable at not knowing what I'm doing, and like feeling like I need a lot of help and instruction and guidance, and leaning into having to ask for it, and like being okay with the discomfort, for like a little while, and I think there's some elements more recently I've been wrestling with, just like working for big pharma, which is interesting, and like that's a whole bear in and of itself, but I think some of those things associated with work, that I like just had no idea how to anticipate going into it, were the biggest challenge, but overall, like so much net positive that I'm so grateful to God for.
That's awesome. Yay. Sade, do you want to tell us about high and lows of your year?
Yes, I would say a challenge that I faced this past year is trying to establish a rhythm and routine in a very unpredictable environment. You know, as Karsten alluded to, you know, just very long days in school, either planning, doing a project, what have you. But I would say even in those moments, in those challenges, I've grown immensely, and just very grateful for the way that like my supervisors and coworkers supported me in those struggles, and trying to be productive and trying to meet timelines and be the best tutor and staff member I could be at my school.
That's awesome. Did you have like a high from your first year out that you were like this, or was, you know, it's also hard because it can be a hard time sometimes.
Yes, I would say a high is, so as I mentioned, my school closed in the middle of March, and we began remote learning soon after. And I would say sometime in the month of April, we launched a lot of remote initiatives to try and engage students and, you know, get the morale up. And no, actually, it was Teacher Appreciation Week, and one of my students actually sent in a video just thanking me, and you know, I would say it was probably 30 seconds long, but that I would say made like my entire experience, just seeing not necessarily seeing, but just receiving that, being a receiver of that, his kind words, and yeah, that meant a lot to me. I'm trying not to get emotional, but it was great getting to work with the kids.
And that's amazing. And so glad you got to be with them. I know it got cut short in person, but it's so amazing to see like what kids will do when they're, especially when they're apart. Like what you know, like I'm sure that child was like always appreciative of your presence, but I feel like it gets amplified in a weird way when we're physically distant from each other. Yeah. Rambert, you want to tell us about maybe a high and low kind of first year of law school?
Yeah, for me, I would say that, you know, the first year of law school, as a lot of people may have heard, is very hard. It's a challenge, you know, whether it be through classes or the adjustment period, or for a lot of people kind of being displaced. It's really hard. For me, it was hard, you know, it was hard finding that community and kind of finding where I fit. Law school is really big on sections, and it was hard kind of finding my groove within my section. But, you know, I'm really grateful that eventually I was able to actually build meaningful connections with people and build connections through different organizations and different clubs. And I think that's really a high, you know, and I love the term that Matt brought up about grace, you know, just giving myself grace for having accomplished or just even completing the first year, which is really hard, which is something that takes a lot of effort. So I'm really just, I give myself grace, and that's a huge accomplishment, I would say. One individual high, my team, we had a kind of, softball is a really big thing at UVA Law School, and my individual section, we won the softball tournament. So that was a high in my book.
That's so cool. I did honor committee when I was, well, I feel it's funny to say like an undergrad because I literally just graduated, but not really. And I was one time when I was in training, got paired with a law student, which was like amazing to like train to do honor stuff with a law student. But I remember like we had a big deadline and she was like, I literally can't, she's like, I can't meet with you because I have our softball tournament. And like, I absolutely like, this is like the highlight of my spring or whenever it was. And she's like, and just absolutely like, this is the priority this weekend. And I was like, cool, that sounds great. I'm glad you're playing softball. But I was like a little confused about how big of a deal it was. And then she explained it to me. So that's awesome. Deal one. I know, and I know different people have kind of already touched on this question, especially Karsten, but just kind of going back to this idea of community, and wherever you are, like I was talking with my roommates because we're all working right now, but people are either like on the job hunt or starting grad school and kind of taking, you know, we're all taking different paths, but they all funnily kind of like align with different paths people on this call have taken. And I think people are like, when we talk about community, literally like, how do I find roommates in a new city? Like some people were just like, I don't even know. I feel like I'm overwhelmed with choice at the moment. Or even like if you like started going to a new church, when we moved, like how did you find a place that it feels so different than coming to UVA, you know, where I felt like I had like shepherds almost of like older students who were almost constantly telling me like, do this, do this, do this. And you had this like blessing of choice where now I'm almost like, how do I know what like neighborhood I want to live in a city? So I don't know, like, I know that's kind of like a broader question than just like touching on community, but I think it kind of goes with that. If people want to like chime in anything, they like, how do you like make friends, find people to hang out with? I think feels daunting to at least some of my friends who are just like, we love our friends at UVA and feel like, how are we going to like evolve as humans and like as friends after graduating? Sorry, that's kind of a big question, but if people have any thoughts on that. Karsten, you want to start for us?
Yeah, I can try. I mean, the big thing for me always is just like pray first. If you're moving to a new place, you don't know anybody, you don't have any connections, just pray about it. We serve a God who comforts us and lets us know that if we trust him with all of our heart and lean not on our own understanding, and in all of our ways acknowledge him, then he will make our paths straight. But in terms of the more practical things, I guess know what you're looking for. If college taught me anything about community, is that it showed me what good community looks like. And when you know what good community looks like, you know what not so great community looks like. And even when I was, so like for the first 6 weeks of Teach for America, you're all 120 of you are shoved into a dorm, and you have to live together for 6 weeks and figure out this whole teaching thing and get day one ready, which is a hot mess it's just like college 2.0, but you have people trying to take care of younger human beings, and it's a lot. But anywho, I very quickly realized that although they were great people, they were passionate about what they were doing. A lot of like value-wise, I just didn't jive super well, and I wouldn't have realized that, recognized that, and been able to act upon it had I not gone through UVA and been immersed in Christian community. The tough reality is sometimes you luck out, and sometimes you just got to look on Craigslist and look for people who are trying to find roommates. Or at least that's what one of my housemates ended up doing. One of the housemates I lived with last year found the house that I moved into via Craigslist, which, I mean, I didn't know you could find roommates via Craigslist, but there's that. Yeah, Facebook has a lot of opportunities, and if you're going there for a job, always ask your interviewer, like, hey, where's a good place to live? Do you know of anyone who's looking for roommates, this, that, or the other? And just being like honest that, I mean, it's something that everyone needs. So, yeah.
Sweet. That's actually really, I know it sounds really simplistic to be like, oh, that's really helpful, but it really is, because like the Career Center does not have a tab on their website that is like how to find roommates on Craigslist, you know? So awesome. Matt, do you want to give us like a little bit of like hometown, like what that looked like finding, you know, like staying in Charlottesville, but reinvented almost?
Yeah. So I actually live by myself. So that's the other answer, is like, you don't have good roommates, move in on your own. But I serendipitously, like, first place I called, they had a 1-bedroom and I took it. I live in Ivy Garden. It was like a 15-minute ordeal. I didn't even look at it. I just signed it. But I can actually hopefully provide more help in that other category of building community. The advice that I would give there is that everyone wants to find friends. Like every single person does that's in their 20s. And if they don't, they're lying to you, or like you probably don't want to hang out with them anyways. And I think that is something that advice that I got that I definitely took. And another piece of advice that I got and took and have found it to be helpful is that there's like a probably 3 to 6 week window where you first meet someone, where if you like take advantage of that and be like, hey, like, let's hang out, even if it's just once or twice, or like, let's grab coffee, or like, I'd love to like show you my church or visit your church or do an activity with someone, like that can be the formation of a really good friendship. And I think if you work alongside or study alongside someone, like after 6 weeks where you like haven't like asked to be friends with them, like it can be really challenging to later on do that. But in those first couple of weeks, like there's no shame or strangeness to being like, hey, like I'm new to this place, or I'm familiar with this place, like for me, and I'd love to show you who's new to this place a fun part of town. And people will be really grateful for you to take that step, because it can be a challenging one to take. And then another thing that I've been trying to do more of and that I really admire in my friends that do is people that introduce other people they think would be friends to each other. Like that's like the best is when you have like a friend from someone or over here and someone over here. And if like they can get to know each other and then the three of you can hang out, that's awesome. So I guess it's just like confidence isn't the right word because it's not, but it's just like being yourself and recognizing that other people like want to know like the awesome person that you are, and taking that leap early can be really helpful.
That's awesome. It also makes a lot, it's like one of those things where I'm like, would never, you know, when you like hear something and you're like, that makes a ton of sense. Yes. Why do I not just like intuitively know that? And I feel like you're saying with like the 3 to 6 week thing, I feel like there are definitely people in my life who like for the past 4 years of undergrad, we've said, I really want to be your friend, but like haven't, for whatever reason, like it just like the barrier to entry was almost like too hard at that point because we didn't take total, like we just didn't make it a priority when we maybe needed to. And it's not that I don't enjoy their company. It's just that life is really busy and you make other priorities. So that makes a ton of sense. Mackenzie, you want to share moving to like this whole new place and it's so cold and Matt knows.
It is. It's so cold. I don't know if this is great advice, but Matt will tell you and Karen will tell you and anyone will tell you that my 4th year, so I knew I was moving in November to Boston, or knew in November that I would be moving to Boston in the fall. And like I told anyone that would listen that I was going to Boston and didn't know anyone, and if they knew anyone that I could be friends with, that would be amazing. And like truly anyone that would listen, I asked if they knew anyone moving, and I think like Matt was kind of saying this, like when you get sent someone's number, I think it feels awkward to be like, hey, I got your number from this person, do you want to get coffee or dinner or whatever, and you've never met, and conversation is a little bit awkward. But I think when you meet for the first time, you get a sense of who they are as a person, and if you think you get along. And similar in the following up vein, I am still great friends with the people I like asked on an awkward second friend date, and then I have faded out with the people that like we didn't necessarily follow up because things got busy. So I think if you find someone you think that they could be a really valuable person in your life, like 100% follow up, even if it still feels weird. I met my best friend in Boston. We had dinner, and it was still like you make all the mutual connections, and then I was like, let's like go to yoga together because we both like yoga, and that I think was a good way to like meet up kind of regularly, even when we still weren't close friends. So like doing an activity can like sometimes help with that, but honestly, like telling anyone that will listen where you're going and asking if they have friends, because usually people know like one person, and that's how I found my roommates. Like they incidentally went to UVI but didn't know them super well at UVI, and heard, because there's not tons of people that moved to Boston, and heard there were 3 more that did. And on the Craigslist note, be open to finding apartments, roommates, all of that on Facebook and Craigslist. I found our apartment on Facebook. I think the link was posted in a group and it seemed really fake because it was like way too good to be true. And I called and nobody answered, and I was like, okay, whatever. It was fake. And they called right back, and we live here now. And I found it on a link on a Facebook group, which seemed really unlikely. So be open to that kind of thing. But yeah, lean into the discomfort because it's really hard, but everyone wants to make friends, like Matt said.
Awesome. Also, my like best friend from college, Sarah, is on this call, and she just got to be, she's a certified yoga teacher now. So my mind was like, oh my gosh, Sarah is one, because I'm hopefully moving to Richmond, and now I'm like, oh my gosh, Sarah, we should host a yoga class to make friends. with our job and stuff. And Sarah, you can
100%.
go. That sounds like great. Awesome. Sade, you're up. You want to give us a little tidbit of advice about just moving to a new place, which I know is also different with AmeriCorps, you know, which I'm really interested in because my plan was, I mean, not the same, but this more like prescribed set of living, being, you know, doing a job like AmeriCorps. So.
Yes. Similar to Karsten, my program placed me and I would say 120 other recent college grads in the same apartment complex, and not only for 6 weeks, but for the entire year. So I lived with people who I also worked alongside, and I am very grateful that I'm very grateful for the individuals the ladies that I lived with. We got along really well and were able to form really good friendships, have a lot of great conversations, and be honest and open with each other. So I'm glad that really worked out. And I would say, as a military kid, I moved around quite often. And one thing that I've realized and reflecting on the places that I lived and the friends that I made is that God will always send you a friend to help you along your development, to help you along your journey. And it may not be in the timing that you would like, but it certainly will occur. And then along the same lines as what a few others mentioned, you know, just remain yourself, be yourself, and you know, also know that not all company is good company. So definitely, you know, think about who you are as an individual, and you know, seek after individuals who encourage you, who will motivate you, and you know, also have a great time together.
That's awesome. That's also really sweet to hear, like, kind of like the serendipity of obviously people, you have somewhat like-minded people applying to AmeriCorps or a program such as that, but it is comforting to think like you didn't have a choice in who your roommates were per se, and there's a lot of like joy to be found there. It's really a beautiful thing. So that's awesome. And Rambert, you want to chime in for us?
Wow, definitely hard to follow up all of that. All four of you gave really great advice that I myself need, and I'm over here taking mental notes. But my one piece of advice that I would give kind of encapsulates some of what I've heard from a few different people, but I think the most important part is to remain true to yourself. And I think in doing that, you know, pursuing activities that you enjoy. I know for me, it was hard at first, you know, to click with people beyond kind of the surface level. So I really spent time doing things that I enjoyed the most. So that was kind of a lot of sports activities. So I'll spend time at the gym playing basketball, or like I said, playing softball, or you know, I was on a flag football team, and doing those things, you know, you interact with a lot of people, but then you can also make connections and actually enjoy kind of activity with people that then springs on to, hey, like we're going to grab dinner, want to come? Or hey, like I'm hosting a game night, you should swing by. And that way you start to build relationships. And as everyone mentioned before, kind of when you're with the right people, those natural connections, he'll make it work if it's meant to work. So I really feel like kind of what everyone said and remaining true to yourself is definitely the best way to go.
That's awesome. Well, I know we're getting close to 9, and y'all are all, I know, so busy, and especially this, like, I'm sure I've talked to some older friends who are like, my work schedule is kind of also all over the place because of online work. It's just funny. You could be working all the time. But I know we had a smaller group here tonight, but I know all three of the girls who are here are girls who I know, like, we have a lot to learn from you guys, and are so grateful to have gotten to have this conversation. And we're going to record it and post it. And just so you know, like, I know I may have been like, oh, I really needed to hear that, but like I genuinely like really needed to hear from the 5 of y'all, just because I think I've just been wrestling a lot. I like flippantly on the phone yesterday said to my dad, I was like, I'm having a crisis of identity, and like as a joke, like kind of sarcastically, and he was like, and like I think maybe it's just it's so both exciting and daunting to like not really have a prescribed path anymore, you know, like it was always like get the grades to go to this school and then go to this school and do these things, and now it's just like the door's open, which is amazing and is exciting. And you know, I'm still hoping to pursue the job plan I had lined up, but in the midst of like learning a lesson to be really flexible, which is really hard for me because I don't like the prescribed plan. It's been really helpful just to hear from y'all and taking different paths and like literally just like being in different places and like you're all doing okay and like have found people to be friends with is a real comfort because it's actually like a genuine fear of mine. So I just want to say thank you guys just for me that this is really wonderful and I can't wait to share with friends and share the recording. And I was even thinking like I actually think all of y'all on the call were a fellow in one way or another, and how like I can't wait to like share like hopefully have Christy share us their incoming fellows, because I can't think of like a better gift to like show fourth years when I was like scared in the fall. If we're being totally honest, like they were in your shoes and like they've been prayerful about this and like and have like taken step forward and like everything is okay. So thanks.
Yeah.
This is really sweet.
Yeah, I'm like so weirdly proud. I don't know why, because I'm not your mother, but I mean, just to see you all flourishing and living your lives and, you know, living in these places of awkwardness and discomfort and hard work, but in finding joy and softball and, you know, friendships. And we miss you. I miss you. Christy misses you. But yeah, I think with Caroline and Carr, sometimes I see fourth years, it's almost like there's this cliff and you don't know when you go over it, like, oh, what's going to happen? The fact that you've all, you know, you're here a year later, still breathing and like getting up and living lives and being blessed. So we are definitely going to be putting this on rerun or whatever it is. But truly, thank you for sharing your lives with us this evening and really being together. It really is a beautiful thing and encouragement to see, and the beautiful variety of the paths you're taking and the places you're living and the options that you're seeing, and, you know, like 5 years from you, 10 years from now, you know, where it's all going to go. But this is such a beautiful beginning. I'm so grateful. So I'm going to ask the Lord's blessing on us tonight, if I can remember it without my card. May the Lord Christ go with you wherever he may send you. May he protect you through the wilderness and guide you through the storm. May he bring you home rejoicing at the wonders he has shown you. May he bring you home rejoicing once again to our doors. Amen.
Amen.
Love you. We miss you. But we're glad you're out there in the world. Yeah. So go in peace and stay in touch.
Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you all for hosting.